By the way, really quick, as we get started, I see some of you already engaging in chat. This is not my network. This is our network. The chat is a place where you can connect with other people. So make sure, no matter how many times, even if you've been with me 200, 300 trainings in the last year or so, make sure you just tell us, who are you? I see Chris Moffitt in here. Oh, it's going away. With Agile Vector, based in Florida. And we do all things something, because the scroll went up. But I think she said training, right? Go see what Chris does. See what others do, and let others know what you do. Don't try to do a whole big sales pitch, by the way. I'm not reading anybody's particular chat, but just general quick things that let us see, oh, this is where you're at. This is what you do. Maybe there's some commonality. Let's go follow up. So engage in the chat while I do the training. I love the fact that we can all network, or most importantly, you all can network with each other. Okay, let's get rocking and rolling. There's a lot of misunderstandings about contract vehicles that are out there. And this is one of the reasons I'm doing the training, right? So an example of a misunderstanding, and sometimes we might call it myths, but I don't really want to go like it's a secret, because that's a myth is too close to a secret. It's just a misunderstanding. We just don't understand it in the reality sense. And so one thing is, once a team is formed, it's locked, right? There's a misunderstanding out there that if people went after a contract vehicle and there was 10 companies, 5 or 10 companies that banded together, went off and won it, well, it's locked. That team is formed and it's done. Well, that's not the reality. There's always need for new people on a team. It might be that there's new tasks that you can cover down on that nobody on the team can. Maybe somebody on the team just went away. They're no longer there. And so once a team is formed, just means that it was formed. There's still always room for getting on there. The second misunderstanding is that primes don't need more partners. And I just alluded to this. If there's new task areas that come on, for example, say there's an IT contract type vehicle that's out there, and then emerging technologies comes in. Well, if you've got that emerging technology expertise, the existing contract holders might value that and bring you onto the team. The third one, not second. The third one is that there's only a few contract vehicles. This is one of my favorite, because that's what I used to think. I used to feel bad that I didn't know them all. But there's hundreds of thousands of contract vehicles out there. There's some that are called best in class. There's about 40 of them or something. There's GWACs, which are government-wide acquisition contract vehicles, can be used everywhere. And those are, let's say, in the 10 or 20 range. But then there are thousands and thousands and thousands of contract vehicles out there, too many for us to know. But we can begin to find the ones that are best for you. And that's what we'll talk about in today's training. And the last thing, a misunderstanding about just contracting in general, is that people think that opportunities are all listed on SAM. They're not. For the most part, everything is listed in FPDS after it's awarded, except for a few exceptions. But opportunities, it's a much smaller fraction than you think that are put onto SAM. Other times they just go into contract vehicles and you never see them, like eBuy or Seaport Next Gen. They have a supplier or contract vehicle portal. That's where the information is going back and forth. This is why sometimes these subscription services you pay for, they don't have access to everything, because they're pulling in the free data or the ungated information, but they don't have access to like Oasis or some other things. And so when you look at contract vehicles, opportunities come out on those vehicles, and that's why you want to be on teams. You can get on these existing contract vehicles that are out there. I want to help you get on those, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me just pull my slides up. We're going to rock and roll with some slides on getting on existing contract vehicles, finding them and getting on them. I'm going to cover down in today's training a little bit of slides and a lot going into the internet, into the web. Actually, if you've got a particular contract vehicle you're thinking about, you want to get on, and you're trying to find contract holders, put that into the chat, because if I don't cover down on it now, I might go back and put it into our newsletter or do another training. But the three things I really want to cover today in our training, we've got 30 minutes till 12:30. I'm going to talk about how you should be determining the correct contract vehicle for your company. Second thing I want to cover is identifying contract holders and POCs. And this is where I'm going to go in to the internet and go to the websites and really help you find people, points of contact, find those contract vehicles, find the contract holders, and then find the people that are in there. So I'll try to show you as much as I can in the limited time to get you started so you can do it on your own. And then I'll wrap up with some steps about how you can get on existing teams. Like once you find this information, how do you move forward? I help people get on contract vehicles all the time. And by the way, it's not like you have to come and work with me in our workshop to do this. I teach it all the time. I teach you today, and I probably have 10 or 20 different trainings in the past year or so about how to get on contract vehicles step by step. I think I've written newsletter articles about it. And so I share that information freely. You don't have to work with me to get this. Just go look at previous training. All right, so if you don't know who I am, my name is 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market doing IT type services. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I want for you. And that's why I do this training. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the Government Contracting Success newsletter. This is our newsletter. You can see we've got 15,000 subscribers. We grow constantly because we put out really good information, and I want you to be able to take advantage of it. The other thing is, I want to say thank you to those of you who registered. I think we had over 140 people register for today's training. When you register, it's a quick, simple thank you to my team. Also, LinkedIn then pushes this out further. One other tip about registering for an event like mine, especially on LinkedIn, is when you register, then you can go into see everybody else who's registered and connect with them easily. LinkedIn kind of gets rid of some of their rules when you're networking within an event like this. So make sure you register for the training. If not for me, then for you, right? And by the way, we have almost 300 people on training today. We had 450 yesterday. This is a great network for you. I mentioned it early on. Make sure you put your company name, your core competency in there so others can see, so that you can see what other people do, and maybe you guys can come together and find some reason to work together. Okay, let's talk about determining the right contract vehicle. So the first thing you need to do, and it's really important, is just know what you sell. Narrow down on what you sell. When you can narrow down on what you sell, then you're able to understand which contract vehicles are available to you out there. I have a customer that does American Sign Language, among other things, and I've done training recently in the past month or so where I've used their core competency as a showcase to show how I go find opportunities, how I go find contract vehicles related to what they sell. But because I got rid of a lot of the stuff they sold and said, let's just narrow on this one core competency, American Sign Language, I was then able to go in and find, oh, well, here's a lot of good contracts, but most of the contract vehicles used for ASL are BPAs, these blanket purchase agreements. And those are great. They tend to be, without trying to be an expert on contract vehicles here, BPAs tend to be for lower cost, repetitive purchases compared to IDIQs, these indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract type vehicles, which are bigger task orders, like millions, right? And but when you know what you sell, it makes it so much easier to begin to understand the contract vehicles that are being used. And then you can go into your agency, whichever way you do this, whether you're doing it through USA Spending and FPDS, whether you're doing it through relationships by talking to the government and saying, hey, what do you guys use? What's your top contract vehicle? GovTribe, which I used to use and I'm going to stop using, they have a great functionality in there, and maybe some other tools have as well. But their functionality allows me to go in and pick an agency, and it will tell me which contract vehicles are being used the most within that agency. And then I can start filtering it down based on NAICS code or what I sell, my core competency, and then see the resulting vehicles. And it's very eye-opening to understand, oh, I thought I was going after this vehicle, but it's not being used. One more quick example on not being used, right, and understanding the right vehicle. I worked on this huge contract vehicle in my last company. It was called SIMS, CDC's Information Management System, I think. And it was a $10 billion IT contract vehicle, a lot of activity. Fortunately for me, I wasn't a contract holder. I was, my contract was to manage the activity, which is great because they ended up not even using it. It was one of the biggest ones we're all pursuing and looking at, all this kind of stuff, but then they ended up not using it. And so when you looked into CDC, you saw this work we thought that would be on this vehicle was actually on this other one, like let's say GSA IT70 or whatever it was back then. So you need to gather this data, and all that data though begins with you understanding what do you sell. We're going to go in a second here, and sometimes I run out of time. So I think I want to go through the next two slides and then come back to this one and go to the internet. But what I'm going to show you here is how do you identify contract vehicle holders and points of contact? So if you're in today's training, I'm assuming you know what a contract vehicle is. It's one of the ways the government buys. And you have a pool of 300, 400,000 government contractors out there. And the government says, hey, let's award a contract vehicle. And that whittles down all those hundreds of thousands of vendors down to a smaller pool. Let's say that pool is 100 companies. 100 companies won or became contract holders of that contract vehicle. It means now, instead of the government having to get proposals from all 100,000 plus, they're getting it from just a pool of 100 companies. And contract vehicles have different size pools. Some vehicles might have 20 or 30 companies on it, like CDC, that SIMS one I said had like 30 companies, and others have thousands. GSA STARS 3 has over 1,000 contract holders. Seaport Next Gen has a couple of thousand contract holders. And so they have different levels, but the idea is coming down and trying to find the contract vehicle that works for you, then finding the contract holders. These are just companies that won the contract, right? They're prime contractors. And then finding the points of contact. This could be a program manager for that contract vehicle. It could be the owner of the company if you're looking at small businesses, et cetera. And I'm going to walk through it. I'm just using a couple of examples here, but I'm happy to walk through other examples if you put it into the chat. Tell me which vehicle you have. This is what I wanted to make sure is I didn't run out of time to come back and show you this slide. Here are the steps to getting on the team, right? Because one part of it is research, understanding what are the vehicles, and targeting, which is finding the people you can call. But then how do you get on that vehicle? Well, here are the steps that I follow. And by the way, I literally do this every single week with one of my customers, right? One customer or another, I'm going through this process, and my team goes through this process. First thing we do is select a few contract holders to pursue. So if I look at STARS 3 as a contract vehicle, I said there's more than 1,000 on there. Well, I don't want to go after 1,000. That's too many. So I want to whittle that down to, let's say, to start a big number, I'm going to go after 100. Well, how do I whittle that down? I might shrink that pool of 1,000 contract holders down by saying, well, let me look for ones that are in Florida, or I'm here in Maryland, right? The ones that are in my state, because then maybe there's some geographical connection we can do. Or I might sit there and say, STARS 3 is an 8A contract vehicle, so 8A small businesses or contract holders. I might go, well, let me also find one that is an 8A woman-owned small business, because I'm a woman-owned small business, might be similar, or veteran-owned, right? You see that kind of tie, finding some similarities. There's ways to whittle it down. You can also whittle down that pool by what they go after. So 8A STARS 3, as an example, has 3 pools. It has a normal pool, it has an emerging technology pool, and it has a OCONUS, outside continental United States, OCONUS pool, right? And so I don't want to work outside the continental United States, so I don't need that one. But right in the middle, I do AI, let's say, and machine learning. So let me look at this pool of about 200 that are emerging technology contract holders on the 8A STARS 3 contract. So number one, you want to sit there and take a large pool of contract holders and whittle it down to something manageable. 100 companies is a good range. You definitely don't want to just pick one. You want to be not only going after multiple so you can get on a team, but you even want to be on multiple teams, because some teams might be less aggressive than others. Okay, step 2 is learn about which agencies are using that vehicle. If I look at STARS 3, I can go into GSA, and I might show you, but I can go into GSA and see which agencies are actually using STARS 3. This is huge. Why would you try to get on STARS 3 and then go over to an agency that doesn't even care? And I've done whole trainings on this about how you need to go make those agencies care. But right now, when you're just trying to get on a sub, you want to go find out which agencies use that vehicle, so STARS 3, and then go find the companies that are contract holders inside of that agency or pursuing it. This is in particular really helpful when you're looking at large companies that you're trying to pursue to get on their team. So I talked about 8A STARS 3, that's small business contract vehicle, but I could be talking about Oasis or Seaport, and I'm looking at large primes. Step 3, I want you to reach out to the contract holders. So you created a target list of 100 companies. Now reach out and schedule an intro call. If you had done a little bit of research, then you can sit there and when you're reaching out, you can drop a little bit of a hook that says why you're trying to connect, right? That hook is I'm looking to talk to you about opportunities that are on Oasis, in particular in the Navy, right? If that's the research you did, then the Navy is where you want to get into, or the Air Force, right? You want to get into them, and the vehicle you're talking about is this. When you do that to somebody who is responsible at a company for that contract vehicle, 9 times out of 10, they're going to take that call with you. All right, step number 4, talk about that agency. Once you get into the meeting, talk about how you're interested in pursuing it, pursuing opportunities, and they keep coming out on your contract vehicle. I'd love to find out if there's a way I could be an unnamed teaming partner. What that means to me is that the government doesn't really know that you're part of that contract vehicle, but that prime contract holder has said, anytime an opportunity comes out, we'll happily team with you. And the way you become an unnamed teaming partner basically is they put you in the supplier portal, if it is, or the contract vehicle portal, like Seaport Next Gen that has a portal. When you try to get on that vehicle, you just get added in. Same thing with GSA. People could just add you to eBuy so that you can see the opportunities. Somebody else will just forward you the emails that are coming from the government related to a contract vehicle. When that is happening, you are now on that contract vehicle as an unnamed sub, is how I describe it. This is what I do to get on. And when you reach out to enough contract holders, you're going to get on those contract vehicles that you want to work with, especially if you're bringing value, right? Don't just come without anything. Value is a whole separate training, but figure that out. Okay, so let's look at some contract vehicles and how I find the holders. So I mentioned Oasis, and let's just begin there. Oh, and by the way I've got the slides lined up a little bit, Oasis, I wanted to show you how I would do it if I just do a Google search, right? Stars 3, I'm going to go in, and I might even show you who's winning. And then I'm going to maybe show you one other different way. There's so many contract vehicles I could show you. But let's just use Oasis. This is a huge contract vehicle that's out there. All I typed was Oasis small business contract holders, right? I could literally come back and try. I was struggling with what's another. How about Stars 3, right? Stars 3 contract holders. There it is. It comes back. And so there's, let me go back. Oh, my screen freezes sometimes. You got to wait 1 second. But the point is, Google is your friend, right? So if you're looking for contract holders, just begin in Google. I happen to know where to go on a lot of them, and so I'll go straight there. But in Google, you can go in and get that full list. So I'm going to come in here to the Oasis Small Business Pool. And when I come in, I don't know why it looks ugly. It just looked ugly today on GSA. But when I come in, this is GSA's website, and I'm able to see the contractor listing. And so as I come down, you can see these are Oasis, Small Business Pool, et cetera. They're talking about the different work. And here, right here, before I go down further, you can see there's 239 contractors right there. I can download the contractors. Actually, let me just click that and open it if it does it easily. Because if I get lucky, that's okay. So apparently I didn't get lucky. See how it's trying to load? It's just doing a bad job on GSA today. Doesn't matter though. Here, right? I'm telling you about finding contract holders. So Oasis, I want to find contract holders. I can come right in here and see a ton of them. If I zoom out and come over to the right here, you can see, like I said, I could just say, well, show me ones that are in Maryland, where I'm at, or show me ones that are women-owned small business, or in this case, service disabled or 8A companies that are in here. I can look for companies like that and begin to pursue it. Here's their points. Here's their phone number. And if I had actually been able to download this spreadsheet, which it's having a problem at the moment, it would have the full point of contact in there, because this spreadsheet isn't really made for us in industry. It's made for the government buyer. If they're trying to make it easy for the buyer, but this information is publicly available. So I can do the same thing if I come down here to 8A. Let me just find the 8A one. Where is it? There it is. So if I say, show me certified 8A, let me see if it refreshes. There you go. So it refreshed. I'm looking at 8A firms, and I can see, remember I said I can filter it down? So right here, there's 65 contract holders in there that are 8A firms. I particularly like going after 8A small businesses because sometimes those set-asides are perfect for me. But I might strategically say, you know what? I want to get on Oasis with an 8A firm, with a hub zone firm, with a woman-owned small business firm, and a SDVO. So no matter what the set-aside is, I'll be able to participate even if it's at like 10 or 20 or 30%. Okay, so that's Oasis. And by the way, This is GSA. It's a mess right now. I don't know why it looks this way, but all the GSA vehicles are in here. So you can go in here and start exploring them and learning. I've done a training. I've done multiple trainings on contract vehicles, how to find the people who are contract holders and the people you can call. So go watch my previous training, but a lot of it is on GSA. Let me just come back to STARS 3, right? So I'm going to show you two links here really quick. That one, oh, look at that. That's interesting. Let's see here. Okay, well, so let me show you this one instead, and I'll go back to the Google one, which is hilarious. Let me come here really quick and just say, let me close that guy. Hold on. This is live, right? So I like it when you have to experience this with me. So remember I said 8A STARS 3 contract holders. So there, let me click that, and I'll come back to it. Takes a minute for it to load. Come on, you can do it. So anyways, this tab, there it goes. What I wanted to show you is, remember I said I can do some research on some of my vehicles on 8A STARS 3 and other GWACs. It's really easy because you can come into this place on GSA. It's called the GWAC Sales Dashboard, and you can see what's going on. And so I'm going to come here, and I'm going to change the select contract family in this dropdown. I want to change it to 8A STARS 3 and apply. And I can use all the years because it's only been out a couple of years now. And so as it resets, there you go. So I can see in here which agencies. So I can see which agencies. Hey, it's not letting me zoom. There we go. Right here, I can see who's winning, right? And so Department of Homeland Security, this is huge. I was just talking to a potential customer this morning, and I would be talking to them about, hey, let's look at 8A STARS 3 contract holders who are doing business in HH or DHS that you can team with. Clearly, HHS and DHS value it, and so does Treasury. But when you start coming down, you start realizing Defense Department doesn't really value it as much. And as you get further down, it's just clear that state and justice, they're not really using that vehicle as much. And so these kind of information really helps. And actually, if I wanted to, I have a touch screen, and sometimes I reach out and try to swipe and it doesn't work. Here, I can come in and say, well, show me which companies are actually winning the most, right? And I don't know these companies. Well, I know some of them actually, but I could come in and look at these and see which ones are winning and maybe reach out to them, see if I can get on their team, because not only are they on the contract vehicle, but they're winning. And that's a good place to be. So here, I was just talking about, and I don't need to go far into it, but right there are the industry partners, right? All I did was type into Google 8A contract holders, 8A STARS 3 contract holders, and it comes up and it just shows me all the information. So here is all the organization information. If I come over, let me come over here. So there's a website. So this is, I've done this before. I actually created a whole directory on my website. I don't know if I make it available anymore, but here is who you call. And for me personally, I wouldn't email STARS 3. I would go find out each one of these individuals, the real email, which is not hard. But now I'm looking at all these people, and there's, again, over 1,000 for me to choose. And so if I want to get on STARS 3, it's not that hard for me to do it. And let me come back here just on the last one as an example. If I'm looking at NOAA in particular, NOAA over in the Department of Commerce has this contract vehicle broken up into 4 categories. So satellite, fisheries, weather and domain. But if I come in here, I can, and I want to get on one of these, let's say weather. If I go into the weather domain here, this is where I can begin to discover, there's their forecast. Here it is, contract holders, right? So if I click on this link here, I can come in and find points of contact. So here is Peter, right? And there is this email. Here's somebody over here, Nishima. And so I can look at these companies. Oh, these guys are great. Axiom. I didn't even recognize who I was looking at. But I'm able to find this. And so if you can find what contract vehicle is being used for the agency that you want to go after, you're going to be able to get on it 9 times out of 10 as a sub if you bring value, not if you just want to get on, but if you bring value. So let me just wrap up with 3 steps for you to think about as you come out of today's training. First thing I want you to do is pick one target agency that you're trying to get into. DHS as an example is a perfect example because they got some clear guidance on which vehicles they use. So then the second thing is then learn the top 3 contract vehicles that they use. You can go into USA Spending, and I've done training on how do you find top contract vehicles using USA Spending. It's GUI, but you can also just call them. Call a small business specialist, somebody in the 𝗧𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗏's office, and say, hey, what are the top 3 contract vehicles, right? They would prefer that you actually did your own research. But once you have an agency, you pick the top 3 contract vehicles, pick one of them and pursue it the way I just taught you today by finding out who the contract holders are, whittling down that list to a manageable size, and then finding people to call or to reach out to at that company. When you do this, you will find you're able to get on contract vehicles. And as a subcontractor, you can have access to 5, 10, or 20 contract vehicles that are in your space. That is awesome. Those primes will let you know about, hey, we got this opportunity. Do you think you can respond with us? So you don't always have to be aware of everything. By being on the vehicle and maintaining a relationship with the contract holder, you will be able to increase your business development activities, your identification of opportunities. Just remember, government contracting and pursuing subcontracts on contract vehicles, it's just a process. It's not a secret. I'll see you in the next training.